This week in comic books, we get more Night Terror. And I'm telling you right now, I'm really digging this series with the exception of a couple of throw off books from it. But I want to tell you why I'm really enjoying this whole as a series. I think it's very interesting. In the land of Marvel, we get the after effects of what happens when Kamala Khan dies, Ms. Marvel. And do we care? Like, do we believe that she's going to be gone forever? Is this a thing? Let's talk about it. And in Independence, I got Fish Flies. And I'm going to tell you right now, that thing is just weird. Jeff Lemire is telling a weird story, and I think I like it. And I'm going to tell you why. And I hope you read it too. Let's find out. But first, let me try to tell you something. Check this out. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. Alright, weirdos, definitely try out Coffee Brand Coffee. Rather you're a villain, rather you're a hero, just give it a shot and let me know what you think. Definitely, if you've had Coffee Brand Coffee, message me on Instagram. I might want to do something with you. We'll see. We'll see if we can't do something in the future. But that's not why you're here. You're here to find out about this week's comic books. And I'm going to be honest with you, we're going to take a deep dive into Night Terror and why I'm absolutely fascinated with this. Kicking it off with the very first issue of Night Terrors. First off, come on now, that cover. Technically, for all you Skull Collector cover people out there it is. So what's going on in here? So we're back to where we're talking about Deadman, and Deadman has kind of possessed Batman's body, right? So he can be conscious in the world. A lot of these terms will make sense after we do a review of all of them when I give you a quick breakdown. So he's walking around trying to get to the bottom of this mystery, and a couple of things are confirmed. Some things that I was hoping would be true. One, we're not dealing with magic, woo-woo, and spells and stuff like that. We're dealing with a guy that just got powers. That's been confirmed in here, so no voodoo stuff, right? We're just dealing with a guy with powers. I like this because it's going to make more sense. A couple other things that we learned, that he does have limits as well, right? Like, he put everybody to sleep, but the magical woo-woo people can kind of fight it off. There are some of the robot heroes that are alive, and everybody's operating, and Deadman needs to get to the bottom of this. So, in a good way, he takes over Madman's body because he is a superhero, and he goes and resurrects a Golden Age classic character, Sandman from the Golden Age. Oh, I was so happy to see that. We haven't seen that character in forever, and I was super happy to see that. He's a detective, puts people to sleep, and now he's been resurrected from the dead. So we get some woo-woo, but not magic woo-woo, just regular comic book woo-woo. It's a lot of woo-woo, but we'll get through it, I promise. So a lot of good stuff here. Before you read the rest of them, I highly recommend reading this first so you kind of understand how the world operates now in this kind of environment they're in. And then we want to jump in and find out why magic isn't working that well. We want to go with Zatanna. Now, first off, that cover, right? Zombie chick. Like, I don't know artists today, man. You cats are killing me. Like, when you make a zombie look good, that's something there. Kudos to you. Alright, so what goes on in here? We see Zatanna. She found out that this stuff was going on. People were falling asleep. She throws up her magical woo-woo shield from it, right? Everybody falls asleep around her. She realizes she needs help because Zomnia has henchmen. He has his own army. So think of it this way, right? Justice League, as it operates, right? They got a little bit of everything in there. They got the sci-fi guy, the classic superhero. They got magical woo-woo stuff. So it only makes sense that Zomnia kind of has the same thing. Yeah, some woo-woo people, yeah, some magical people. You know, it's an army against an army now, instead of just one guy kind of manipulating reality in their own way. They're going to attack. She needs some help. She puts the call out, grabs a robot, right? Because if you're not protected by magical woo-woo, then you need to be a robot. You can't attack the subconscious or the conscious of a robot, or even the ego of one. It's a robot. Brings in Robot Man. horrible name. She points that out too. To kind of assist her in kind of battling these guys so she can grab her friends, in this case it's Detective Chimp and Wonder Woman, and put them someplace safe while they try to figure out what's going on here. She has a serious problem with Doom Patrol as a whole because of her and her experiences with her father. Also very smart. We start attacking superheroes, little tiny voices in them in that subconscious that kind of show them that you're not as great as you seem to think you are. This is what I'm calling the subconscious attacking the ego in here. I will explain after. Trust me. Just work with me on this. We got to get through what's going on. By bringing her father in and saying, hey, you're really not that good. You were a mistake. You're this, you're that. Everything else kind of attacking her in that way. So they get him to safety. That happens. Great little side story to this. Not mandatory reading in the aspect of the whole story, but if you want a full holistic picture of what's going on here, this will be crucial reading at that point. Next, we get Flash. Boom. First I went with this cover because this really speaks to this concept that I came up with. Notice it's Flash with no substance to him. He's just running. There's no real person there. And I think that's kudos, artist, if you've meant to do it that way when we get to the back end of this. So basically, this is just Barry Allen. We're attacking what makes heroes weak, their own thoughts and their own ID, and even their own ego to some degree, right? In this case, he couldn't save Wally West in time as he's traveling through the Speed Force, and there is something in the Speed Force that attacks. Remember, Zamia has an army too, so that only means that he has somebody that can access the Speed Force as well. And again, we're just attacking. He's in a nightmare. We're only attacking the things that he identifies to. His ego. Not like the way we would use ego today, like, oh, you got an ego. Everybody's got an ego to some degree. Next, we get into Green Lantern. Again, kind of the same concept here. This one was smart because it's picking up off of the current run right now of it and kind of picks up, and again, pointing at all the little things that make you really a horrible person on the inside, right? While you try to be a good guy, right? His relationship with people. He's not really should have never been chosen to be a hero with the ring and all this other stuff. Like, you don't deserve this. Again, we're playing off of this real cool concept that Insomnia just has a serious problem with heroes in general. Like he's not like an arch nemesis against one guy. He just hates this concept of heroes, period. Ooh, so good. So good. Oh, you little self-righteous. So good. All right, and then we go rolling into Robin. First off, that cover. Come on now. I decided to go with the more creepier covers on this one. And I really like that one too. Kind of like an homage to Jaws. In this one, we're dealing with two of the famous Robins. One of them, also known as Red Hood. We're dealing with Red Hood and Robin. So we're dealing with that. And again, we already know their trajectory. One of them got beat down by the Joker and was killed by him. And we're kind of going over the whole situation between where his father got killed by Boomerang and he couldn't get there in time to save him, right? Oh, so bad, so sad, right? You keep showing up and he's making him kind of relive this kind of thing. While the other one, of course, is going through the whole thing with the Joker beating him down with the crowbar thing from the famous comic book run. I knew I was going to draw a blank the moment I started recording this. The Killing Joke? Death in a Family. Right? So that's what we're dealing with there. And again, keeping along this theme, just picking at the heroes. Right? We get Shazam. First off, the artwork kind of threw me off in this one when I saw it. Because when you open up the page, who is Captain Marvel or Shazam in this one, keeps looking like... that looks like Black Adam to me. But again, as you read through it, you find out what it is. It's Billy Batson, the Shazam that we know. And he's constantly kind of telling her in this dream state, hey, you're not good enough to be this. You shouldn't be this. Again, attacking that ego. So what is all this really talking about? It's talking about a very simple concept. It's often discussed in psychology. First thing you need to know is I say that everybody has an ego because ego, technically defined, is nothing more than a collection of beliefs and identifying factors, your identification, you have about yourself and the world around you. In other words, it's how you perceive reality and your relationship to that society, world, or whatever the case may be, right? Like you're a valuable team member at work, or you're really good and professional. These things that kind of, I'm not going to say you're proud of, but you're competent in, right? And then the subconscious is all these little things, these little doubts. And everybody has these little doubts. Could I be better? A lot of people drive motivation from that to be better at something when they hear this internal monologue kind of happen to themselves. Like, should I be doing this? All those kind of things. And then there's the conscious mind where you actually perform and do these things to some level of completion or relationship wise, right? So it's very simple in this case. Since the subconscious, in most cases, is often stronger than the conscious mind, the here and now, right? The ego can easily be influenced by either one of these things, right? You're really bad at something. You go into something, you're going to be terrible at it. So maybe you don't give 100% and you kind of confirm that belief, right? Whereas your conscious mind is like, I can do this. I know I'm good at this. I'm going to succeed at this. Again, and the ego becomes a little bit of proud, right? Or pride in that aspect. That's what's going on in this book, and why I think these books, and why I think all of them are just phenomenal reading. Are all of them required reading for the main story? No. But being able to just kind of just watch this happen, where they kind of pick away at each one of these heroes. And also the fact that we're dealing with a normal guy with powers. You'll remember during the dawn of DC, the Lazarus rains that came down and gave certain people powers. He's one of those people. He's currently asleep. But something weird is happening to him, right? If you go back to the first book that I talked about, he's asleep in there. Dead man jumps into his body and kind of starts exploring around in his conscious, subconscious, and ego mind, right? He's kind of going around in there. And he keeps seeing all this evil, right? And it's like all this is being pushed to the conscious mind, where all the good stuff is kind of getting farther and farther away into the subconscious mind, meaning that he's burying these thoughts of good times and happiness. Obviously, there was a family or something along those lines in there, and this other stuff is coming out. In case you're wondering, that's how depression works. That is like when all your happiness and all the things that can be said to you to tell you that you're good and you're depressed, you immediately start pushing all that stuff into the subconscious mind, while you're letting the little annoyances, the sad things, or the things that you're just making up come out of the subconscious mind into the conscious mind. And of course that would affect your ego at the end of the day. He's a depression monster. It's kind of awesome. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm super impressed with this. I hope that was the intent overall of this story, but I definitely want to know, more importantly, what do you think? Like, are you reading this? Are you getting that kind of same concept now that it's been said out loud? Let me know down below. I'm really curious, but I think it's just a fascinating read on a totally in between the panels, if you will. All right, moving on with books. Now that part's over with, we get Superman Lost, and this is kind of taking a downward spiral for me. Superman's been lost in space, and we keep jumping time again, where we're dealing with he actually got back home, so we knew he got back home. And he's kind of having to deal with his relationship with Lois Lane and being back in the world, and apparently this has been a very traumatic thing for him. And he's having a hard time relating to anything. And then we kind of see that maybe, possibly, there was a love interest while he was lost in space. And since time is relative throughout space, the timing of this whole thing doesn't make much sense. Lois Lane and Wonder Woman were kind of chit-chatting back and forth, but he hasn't really been gone that long, whereas to him it seems like about 3 years now. Smart, but I didn't find it very relative to this story, because one person's perception of time versus everybody else's shouldn't really matter. Also, another thing I didn't like in this, Lois Lane asked to steal the lasso of truth from Wonder Woman, asked her for it, doesn't steal it, and kind of sneakily does it to Superman to kind of get a truth out of him about how he's dealing with everything. I have a little bit of a problem with barroom psychology and pseudo psychology when people try to insert themselves into somebody's situation when they're still trying to process a situation. That's not healthy. That's no different than going to a local watering hole and being bummed out and getting advice from some random guy at a bar. It doesn't change anything. Well, I mean, alcohol changes everything, but for the most part, there's no real help there. So yeah, not good messaging. Really, you should just let people kind of process things and be there when they're ready to talk about it. If not, seek professional help that knows how to ask the right questions to not push or lean people into an emotional state, right? We don't want people making emotional decisions, right? We want people to get better and cope and deal with the things that they issue with. Those are two very different things. Oh, yeah, this one got deep this week. I'm sorry. It doesn't get better. Next, we're going to talk about the only Marvel book I picked up this week. Fallen Friend, The Death of Ms. Marvel. So Miss Marvel has bit the bullet. She died in the Spider-Man run. And this is kind of the aftermath of it all. Friends and family and everybody kind of homaging her and her life that she lived and what kind of person she was and how many people she actually affected. Now, if you didn't read Spider-Man run, there is some nuance there that makes this a little bit more significant, I think. Because she was constantly worried if she was a hero, if she was what everybody else would consider a hero. That was very important to her. It was a goal of hers. And then everybody's kind of sitting around there calling her a hero. And it always amazes me when you read about, like famous people and stuff, to kind of go down just a quick rabbit hole. I know a lot of people want the gratification of being the title or being the best at something while they're alive so they can actually see it happen. But the truth is, a lifetime of work gets recognized after your death. Think about some of the most greatest artists out there. Think about, more so in artistry than anything else, scientists. Like, do you know who made the microwave? Right, the most common appliance you see in a kitchen today. He wasn't really known until, like, mainstream known, until some time ago. It's kind of weird how it works. And is it fair? Not really. But unfortunately, it's a sad thing, but it's the truth. All right, moving on. Still not lighthearted yet, by the way. Let's talk about fish flies. So this is a super weird title, but when you read it, you understand why. So in some part of Canada, I believe is where the story takes place, there's a day where all these particular flies come out. They're bugs, right? And unfortunately, coming off the tragedy of a young boy losing his life while he interrupts a robbery, the killer escapes and hides in a silo. And there's this, I don't want to be offensive, but I'm just going to say weird girl. I'm going to say weird girl, not in the aspect that she is weird, but she comes off as weird. There's obviously some intellect there. There's definitely some peace to her, but there is some oddballness to her too, as we see her normal interaction with school kids and stuff like that. She has the constant runny nose. Seems very blah about everything. And then we find out why. She comes from a pretty broken home. Situation's all weird. But she kind of befriends this killer even though she knows who the killer is. And unfortunately our killer, because of the situation that's going on, we had to, an M. Sham... Oh, what's the director? Sham Night? Shyamalan? Is that his name? I don't know. Help me out down below. We get a twist, right, where the killer actually turns into an oversized one of these flies and they need to go run and hide now. Very different turn than I expected, but there it is. And obviously the killer's very remorseful for what he did. He may have been on something, but it kind of hints that he was kind of tweaking out at the time. So, I don't know. I like this story for its weirdness. There is no doubt about it. The artwork in it's weird. everything about it's weird, but it's that kind of weird that you kind of like, or at least for me. All right, last, a little whimsy in the most weirdest places ever, and a little lightheartedness in the weirdest place ever. In Hell We Fight. So this is a bunch of kids that are in hell. There went the fun part. And I don't know how to describe this. So an angel is taken captive in an ice cream truck in hell. The kids go and try to steal the ice cream truck and realize there's an angel in there. The kids kind of see the benefit of having an angel to get out of hell. But one of the main demons down there, right, wants the angel to bring upon apocalypse in order to start a little boogaloo between heaven and hell. That doesn't sound like whimsy at all, but once you add the artwork and the dialogue to it, it gets very lighthearted. There's a kid walking around with an axe in his head. But the artwork makes it seem silly and kind of fun. I don't know what we're becoming as a society, but I do know that that's the end of my comic book review this week. Definitely, if you haven't, consider Coffee Brand Coffee. If you've already bought some, hit me up on Instagram. I may want to do something with you. Something where we can both have a little fun, mutually beneficial for both of us. Kind of put out some videos or something. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Evil Layer Project, we've hit a little bit of a snag on it. So after this, I got to rush back out to the Evil Layer and get started on it so we can get you a video at the end of July. This one's going to be cool. I'm not even going to lie. I'm so proud of the idea and the people that helped me with this one. Definitely want to share that with you. Other than that, folks, I got nothing else. Enjoyed having you here. I'll talk to you all soon.